this land, united with knowledge and ignited by a spark of creativity. And without further ado, I want to show you the first fruit of that conflagration of ideas. The first team is Team Caravan. They'll be introducing themselves, but I will be doing the segue work as the next team comes along. Yet again, Team Caravan.
Yeah.
Nice. So, hey everybody. So in a couple weeks, for the third time in 2 years, I'll be moving across the country. And as happens every single time, inevitably, I'll be renting a U-Haul weeks in advance before I have any idea whatsoever how much volume all of my stuff takes up. So again, inevitably, I end up with a U-Haul that's half full going across the country, which is a total sunk cost for me. I can't recoup that. And it would be nice if there was some sort of service that allowed me to take on someone else's goods and bring it with me. There's got to be a lot of people moving to San Francisco in the next few weeks.
And I'm a musician, and I've got a gig booked in Berkeley, California on May 25th, Memorial Day. So I'm flying out there with my mandolin. The only thing is I have about 90 pounds of gear. I've got an amp, PA system, and a little lighting kit. So I can't bring that on the plane with me. Now, I've looked into shipping it, and it's extremely expensive to send with USPS or UPS. So what I wish is that there was a service that I could connect with someone that was already making the trip, and if they had vacant space in their vehicle, I could pay them to ship my stuff, I could save money, and then they could recoup some of the costs on their travel expenses.
I'm Charles, this is Grant, this is Kenny, this is Vin, and we're Team Caravan. And this is our product, a simple, easy-to-use solution for getting your stuff from A to B using real people with a minimal amount of logistics. So I've already created a trip, and now I'm just waiting to see if there's anyone that needs their stuff brought out to San Francisco in the next couple days.
All right, so let's use Caravan. Vin, let's get started. Okay, so my origin is going to be Brooklyn, New York. And my destination is Berkeley, California. All right, so let's see if there are any matching trips for my search. All right, I've got 9 trips I can see, and you can see they're all from New York, New York. It's close enough to Brooklyn. And San Francisco, California is the destination. That's close enough to Berkeley for me. All right, so I need to pare it down by my dates. I need my shipment picked up on the 18th of May, and I need it delivered by Memorial Day, the 25th of May. Cool, let's see if there are any matches for my trip. Okay. All right, so I have about 90 pounds of gear, so let's see if anyone can afford to take that much. And I'm going to need about 13 cubic feet for all this equipment. Then let's see if there are any matching trips for what I need. All right, so since I'm a cheap musician, I'm going to take the cheapest one. Looks like Charles has a trip. Let's book it, Vin. Cool. So my address, which I'm starting from, is 570 Westminster Road in Brooklyn. And I'm going to 3200 Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. Okay, description, music gear. Let's create the parcel. All right, so you see my profile here. I've got a parcel booked for shipping. I'm going to send a message to my driver. Handle with care. Send that out. And we're all set.
So it's been a little while. Let me check back on my profile and see if anyone has some stuff they want me to ship for them. So I'm going to log in, go to my profile. Let me check my inbox. Looks like I've got messages. Cool, I've got a message from Caravan telling me I've got a trip with Grant, and a message from Grant asking me to handle with care. Sure, we'll do. Let me go back to my trips. And let me click on the delivery. I can see it's some music gear. That's cool. Click on that. And if I want, I can message Grant, get some more instructions, clarify whatever I need to do. And let's say it's a week later, I've delivered his packages. I can click parcel delivered, and that'll automatically send that to my history, send a message to Grant, letting him know it's been delivered. and we can now review each other, which will affect our reputation going forward, which other users can then view and factor in when they make a decision about who to use for their shipping. So that, in a nutshell, is Caravan. Quick, simple, easy to use solution for your shipping needs that puts the people back in the process. And that's our demonstration. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce Kenny to talk about our development workflow.
So when dealing with an app like ours, a shipping app that has a lot of logistical concerns, that translated into a complex backend for us. And for that reason, we decided to go with Rails as our framework. We're also really comfortable with Rails already because of the program, and we knew we'd be able to handle a lot of our backend concerns. On the front end, we wanted to keep our UX really clean and really user-friendly and hide a lot of that complexity from the users. And we did that by using the CSS framework Bootstrap, and we handled the cross-site animation using jQuery. One really important factor when dealing with a feature-heavy site is to make sure that you work in an agile development workflow. We accomplished this with the dev toolkit, including Trello, which allowed us to easily delegate tasks to each other. We were in constant communication on Slack, and on the code side, we collaborated on GitHub, and we were constantly monitoring our test coverage with CircleCI. We ended up having about 80% test coverage, which was really helpful in the later stages of our project because we were easily able to spot bugs that were happening when we wrote late code. Ultimately, we were really happy that we went with known technologies because it allowed us to not fight with our frameworks and move straight to shipping powerful features. So now I'm going to pass it off to Grant, who's going to talk about our code.
So the main feature was the search. And as you saw, it didn't just match up the city. What it did was matched up all trips and parcels that were within a 15-mile radius of each other. And we did this by using the geocoder gem to geocode latitude and longitude to the addresses. And by using the Google Places API, as soon as you typed in the address, it would automatically calculate that latitude and longitude and then save that in our database when you created the address. And then we were able to use that on the search end of it to show you the matching responses like you saw. So Vin's going to talk about some of the challenges we faced.
So we really struggled with the scope of this project. In the beginning, we gave ourselves an enormous list of features to integrate or build, everything from visual representation of volume to a credit card payment system. I think a few factors contributed to this. A general overambitiousness, getting lost in all the logistics of shipping, and just straying from the concept of a minimum viable product. But we eventually realized we needed to pare down our feature list, given the time constraints, to concentrate on the core idea behind Caravan, connecting the shipper to the driver. And now Charles is going to talk about the user experience.
Thanks. So the final piece of this was the front end, what the user experiences, what they see, how they feel about using our product. At BBC, we're asked to make something meaningful and beautiful while we're here and when we move forward. And when you think about shipping, you do not think about something beautiful or meaningful. You think about something you have to deal with, a process. No one likes filling out forms. You don't want to see us fill out forms in a demo. We had to deal with the challenge of getting the most information possible from the fewest amount of user inputs. And we dealt with that using the Google geocoder system that Grant already talked about a bit. We also dealt with it by just extracting some of the complexity that goes into a so-called fully featured, more traditional shipping system like USPS or UPS. I think we've all been sold on this falsehood that shipping has to be complicated. And I think that benefits the companies more than it benefits the people who are shipping something. I think that there's an enormous market inefficiency currently when people travel from A to B. You saw this work for Caravan with a U-Haul going across the country. But what about people flying, taking trains, taking cars? When you travel somewhere, you are given a certain amount of shipping space that you're probably not using, a certain amount of stuff you could transport. Why not give people the ability to utilize that and give shippers the ability to easily get their stuff from A to B and let them handle the details? So that's Caravan in a nutshell. Thank you.
Any questions? Yeah.
Can you talk about how you divvied up the work and what your teamwork flow looks like?
Yeah, so our workflow was based around individual releases that we assigned a certain number of points, and we all agreed basically on what our MVP was, which, as you heard from Vin, changed somewhat in the first few days. But our work was divvied up essentially in certain features that we needed to add or certain areas of the website. So typically, one or two of us were working on the back end, while the other two worked on styling or controllers, so moving data from the back to the front of the website or vice versa. But we all dabbled throughout the site. All of us touched every piece of the site as we were asked to do and as we feel was the most effective. It was based more around what needed to be done, less around what we preferred or felt where our strengths were in. Anybody else? Yes, you there.
This is awesome. Like, I definitely had this issue myself and moving back and forth. What's the game? Like, what do you want to do with this? And what would you do with the security piece, right? And the insurance piece?
That's a great question, and I think obviously many of you out in the audience are thinking this is going to go terribly. Some stuff is going to get lost. People are going to ship illegal objects or dangerous explosive things. Of course, that's a risk, but that's currently a risk with any shipping. And I think what the sharing economy has really proved is that fundamentally people are good. Fundamentally, when you put two people together, they treat people better than they would treat a system. So it's easy to abuse a system. It's really hard to abuse someone's house. Like, infamously, Airbnb pitched this to people, and everyone's like, this is crazy. People are going to trash your houses. Like, this is never going to work. I think obviously we would need terms and conditions. We'd need legal agreements. We would need insurance. But that's something we could handle internally. That would be the service we provided. And I think it would work out. In short, I think people would treat each other decently.
80% test coverage is pretty good. Did you lean on that in the kind of final couple of days to refactor any code? And if so, like, what were the biggest refactorings? And if not, how would you moving forward clean up the code?
This weekend we kind of had an identity crisis. So initially it was like, fill out the forms, get the information, hit book, and then you were done. You never got to do any of that matching or filtering live. It was all back end, and for a user, that's no fun. You want to go to kayak.com and sort of play with different settings, try out different dates, etc. So that we wrote our test first on Friday and Saturday, and once we got rid of a few routes and streamlined the search page, that was breaking a lot of the controller tests. So yeah, we did have a sort of benchmark to work from, but since we basically eliminated a lot of routes, what we ended up doing to pass those tests was delete the tests because we didn't need them anymore.
Anybody else? Yeah, Alex.
Pamela Frame.
Hi, Mom.
The intranet says, what would your next add-ons be if you had time?
Do you want to talk to my mother, or should I? So I think our next add-ons would be more robust features for payment, which is something we tried and got lost in. It just ended up being a rabbit hole. Features for greater communication and notifications. I think something we touched upon is the complexity of two parties working together to solve a problem, getting something from A to B. You want really robust notifications of when an event happens to make people feel more secure, to give them more data. And I think we could set that up, but that takes a lot of time in the development schedule. And expanding this to different means of transportation.
Yeah, we're out of time, I'm afraid. Thank you.